Right now, I'm watching something unfold that honestly feels surreal. The United States is in an active war. Missiles are flying. American troops have died. The Strait of Hormuz, the narrow waterway that carries a huge share of the world's oil, is effectively shut down. Tankers are sitting outside the strait waiting. Oil prices have surged past $100 a barrel. This is the largest disruption to global energy supply in modern history. And at the same time, the President of the United States is posting Grand Theft Auto gameplay clips on social media and presenting them as footage from the war. Yes, video game footage. What I'm about to walk you through isn't just about a strange press conference or an odd tweet. It points to something far more troubling happening inside Washington right now, and almost nobody is saying it clearly. If you're new here, subscribe to Daily Brief and turn on notifications, because the next few weeks are going to move fast, and understanding what's really happening matters. Let's rewind a little. Just 2 weeks ago, on February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched a massive coordinated air campaign against Iran. Multiple targets, multiple cities. According to reports confirmed by Iranian state media, Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, was killed during those opening strikes. Trump called the operation a historic success. But then Iran responded. Missiles and drones were launched toward Israel, U.S. military installations, and allied states across the region. Soon after, the Strait of Hormuz, the route through which about 1/5 of the world's oil supply normally travels, was effectively closed. Iran's Revolutionary Guard declared that vessels connected to the United States or its allies could be considered legitimate targets. Energy markets reacted instantly. Oil prices jumped above $119 a barrel. Analysts described it as the largest oil supply shock ever recorded. The International Energy Agency even organized an emergency release of 400 million barrels from global reserves just to calm the markets. Even with that intervention, prices stayed above $100. So that's the global situation. A war expanding across the Middle East, energy markets in chaos, and massive military movements underway. Now here's what the president was doing during this moment. On social media, he repeatedly posted photos of comedian Bill Maher 8 times in one day. Then came clips from Grand Theft Auto, presented as battlefield footage. Then gameplay from Call of Duty. Then baseball highlights and NFL clips mixed in with posts about the war. This isn't exaggeration, it's documented. Meanwhile, 6 American service members were killed when a KC-135 refueling aircraft crashed in Iraq. More than 800 people have died in Lebanon, over 130 in Iran, 12 in Israel. Yet during his first official press conference since the war began, Trump spent time discussing whether college athletes should be paid for their name and likeness. At one point, he declared Iran's military completely destroyed, claiming its navy and communications networks were gone. Then he ended the briefing by turning to a college football coach standing beside him and saying, "Coach." That was how a wartime briefing ended. But the reality on the ground tells a different story. Iran's government is still functioning. Iranian officials continue appearing on international media. Drone attacks are still occurring. And Iran's new leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has said the Strait of Hormuz will remain closed as leverage against the United States. Meanwhile, the U.S. military is escalating. An additional 5,000 Marines and sailors are being deployed to the region. The 82nd Airborne Division has canceled training operations. A third aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, has left Norfolk heading toward the Middle East. Those are not the actions of a finished conflict. And privately, according to reporting from NBC News, Trump has discussed the possibility of sending ground troops into Iran. When a reporter asked whether Russia or China might be helping Iran target U.S. forces, Trump dismissed the question as stupid. The White House press secretary was also asked whether the administration might consider reinstating the military draft. She refused to rule it out. Think about that. Now consider the economic impact. Because the Strait of Hormuz normally carries about 20 million barrels of oil every day, the disruption is enormous. Analysts estimate around 8 million barrels per day of supply has already been removed from global markets. Before the war, oil was trading around $70 a barrel. Within days, it surged to nearly $120. Some analysts warn that if the conflict drags on, prices could climb to $135 or higher, with Iranian officials even predicting $200. If you drive a car or pay heating bills, you're already feeling it. If you invest in the market, you've probably seen the volatility. But there's another dimension to this story that many people aren't discussing. Recent reports surrounding former Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem hinted at internal concerns about Trump's behavior. Under oath, she confirmed that Trump personally approved a $220 million taxpayer-funded advertising campaign featuring her in promotional videos. After she was dismissed, sources close to her began suggesting something deeper, that Trump may not be operating at full cognitive capacity. Other individuals who have interacted with him recently have echoed similar concerns to reporters. They point to the unusual social media posts, the sports-focused press conferences during wartime, and other erratic moments as evidence of a broader pattern. Trump himself has made comments that raised eyebrows. In multiple speeches, he has told large crowds that he doesn't believe he will reach heaven, despite saying he is doing a great job for a lot of people. Draw your own conclusions, but the pattern exists. Now let's talk about where this situation could go. There are essentially two possible paths. The first path is diplomacy. Iran has signaled through some public statements that negotiations may still be possible. Countries like Qatar have previously mediated between Washington and Tehran. If a ceasefire agreement could reopen the Strait of Hormuz and halt the attacks, energy markets could stabilize and the global economy might recover. That scenario would require serious political courage and cooperation from both sides. The second path is escalation. Ground troops enter Iran. The Revolutionary Guard, prepared for this scenario for decades, launches asymmetric attacks along the coastline. The strait remains closed or partially closed. Oil prices climb toward $150. Global recession becomes possible. Major powers like China, which relies heavily on oil shipments through the strait, face enormous pressure. Russia deepens its involvement. What began as a regional conflict expands into something far larger. At the moment, the evidence suggests we may already be sliding toward the second path. Trump himself has delivered contradictory messages, saying the war is basically over in one statement, then promising further escalation in another. Iran's Revolutionary Guard has stated openly that Iran will decide when the war ends. 6 American service members are already dead. International events are being canceled across the region. The UN Secretary General has warned that there is no military solution. And during all of this, the president recently told a group of sports coaches he wanted to write an executive order about college athlete payments and joked, "Coach, put me in." So I want to leave you with 3 real questions. First, does the official narrative that victory is close and the enemy is defeated match the evidence we can see? Second, do the actions we're observing from the president look like the behavior of someone fully in control of a war of this scale? And third, when this conflict eventually ends, who will actually bear the consequences? Not the politicians, the American families paying higher fuel prices, the Iranian civilians burying their dead, Lebanese communities displaced by fighting, young Americans who suddenly hear serious conversations about a draft. Those are the people who ultimately carry the weight of decisions made in Washington. If this analysis helped you understand what's happening, subscribe to Daily Brief and share the video. The story is still unfolding, and clarity matters more than ever.